Okay, maybe you're not single, but chances are you know somebody as a neighbor, a sibling, a friend.
Right, at any given time, nearly half of the adult population will be single. And whether looking for love the first or second time around, it can be a frustrating experience.
You ever heard of Michelangelo?
Yeah.
Heard of Sistine Chapel?
Yeah.
Michelangelo. Sistine Chapel.
Saying you can do this?
My name is Alex Hitchens. Let's go paint that ceiling.
It's the premise of the hit movie Hitch, with dating coach Alex Hitchen advising his client Albert Brenneman on the ways of love.
Definitely been hurt a lot, you know. I had a lot of bad experiences. Some good ones, you know, definitely a lot of bad ones, and, you know, I'm desperate.
And it's a sentiment shared by approximately 42% of Utah's population, either divorced, widowed, or never been married. And that's where Elisa Goodwin-Snell comes in. Billing herself as Utah's dating coach, she promises to take singles from dateless to dazzling. And we followed her on this quest, meeting 5 Utah singles, all willing to learn the dating rules and hopefully find true love. There's Louise, early 40s, divorced. Her goal? Steer clear of negative relationships. Mark, 28, never been married. His goal? Find the confidence to approach women. Tammy, 34, divorced. Her goal? Get back in the game. Christopher, 28, never been married. His goal? Learn to express feelings. And Jana, 28, never been married. Her goal? Learn to flirt.
What's the name of the game?
First up for each of the participants, a one-on-one with Elisa and a skills assessment.
I don't think you flirt. I don't think you make eye contact. I don't think you send out a message that says I'm approachable.
Once able to pinpoint individual strengths and weaknesses, the participants are prepared to set their goals.
You've got to get in the habit of looking men in the eyes and smiling, and then recording who responded.
And Elisa's quick to point out that dating is a game. But lack of success in the game is not personal. It's just a matter of technique.
You can learn those techniques, and it's simple. Fake it till you make it.
And with that advice comes the first rule of success. You can't win if you're not in the game. And as Hitch would say,
because with no guile and no game, there's no girl.
Okay, joining us with the remaining rules of the game is Elisa Goodwin-Snell, a licensed marriage and family therapist and also Utah's dating coach.
Yeah, and this is a subject that's actually close to her heart because you actually, this isn't just something you made up. You lived this and had to get back in the game, right?
And I really had 2 experiences with dating. I had my first experience with dating when I was single in my 20s, and I had my second experience with dating when I was single in my 30s because I was divorced. And I had a young boy, and so I needed to make sure I got it right this time, and I had some bad experiences with my dating experiences before, and I couldn't afford to keep repeating that pattern. So the book was really driven by my own desire to, one, avoid potentially abusive and manipulative relationships, which is where I developed the 3-date rule for identifying them, because I like to like people, I like to trust people, I like to love people, and so I needed to see these warning signs early on, and then just enjoying working with singles over the last 7 years and helping them to be successful. So that's where the be confident, be successful stuff came in. But I was so much different in my second experience. My confidence was better, my success was better, and putting that together, what made it different. So I talk about the 20 common mistakes women make in my book as well, and then give them hints for how to overcome those.
Well, I love hearing you talk about it. It's very intriguing to me because you do talk almost in strategy speak. I mean, you talk as if it is a game. You acknowledge that dating is a game, right?
Well, partially because if we look at it as a game, then I'm not failing, my technique is failing. If I'm bouncing the ball really high, I'm using a horrible technique, the ball can get swatted away. You know, and so I'm using horrible technique. I can change my technique. I can't change who I am. If I think I'm the one who's getting rejected, then I'm going to have a much harder time in the game. And so, but rejection is part of the game, and that's why I talk about it as the 3-week drop-off curve. You know, most relationships don't get past the first 3 to 6 weeks. So when I'm dating someone, I'm not likely to, you know, experience a lot of success in the first 3 to 6 weeks. But if I look at it as I can improve my strategies in the first 3 to 6 weeks, and I can do those techniques that decrease the drop-off curve, I feel like I have power, and it's not just about the rejection.
Now, you know there are a lot of people out there who are single, or at least people who know people who are single. So walk us through what's really going to work here. You say the first step is get in the game. What does that mean?
Well, a lot of times we're sitting at home and feeling like nothing everything is changing in our life, we need to realize that if we're not playing by the rules of the game, if we're not participating in the process, we're not going to have success. And so, you know, it's not enough to wish and hope and pray. You need to know what actually works and what doesn't work. And that's part of what I teach in my dating coach program as well. And the book mirrors the dating coach program, or the dating coach program mirrors the book, because I talk about be safe, be confident, be successful, and I break it down into that. And they work on very specific goals, but you cannot and are not in the game if you're not out there flirting, if you're not where other singles are. But the neat thing is, singles are at the grocery store with you. You know, if you're in the habit of looking people in the eyes and smiling, you are in a position where you can meet other singles.
Okay, your next tip, be safe, and not just physically safe, but also emotionally safe, right?
Be emotionally safe. You need to be ready for the game. If you're in a bad place and you get out on the internet, you're going to meet people who are going to prey upon your weaknesses. So you need to be ready for the game. You need to know the warning signs. You need to play by the rules of dating so that you're not vulnerable more than you need to be.
A lot of your analogies play into that playing, because it really is a game, and one of your rules is no tackles. What do you mean by that?
Well, that represents abuse and manipulation. Don't go into the game expecting to abuse and manipulate people. I talk about having a male-friendly psychology, and in my seminars that I do and in the singles events that I go to, I talk about how to have a male and female-friendly psychology, because this isn't about hurting anyone. It's about changing and improving your techniques, and it's about doing it with the right motives and intentions. But you don't tackle others in the game.
Again, another game analogy, pass the ball. What does it mean to pass the ball?
Keep the ball going. I mean, you've got to do your part. Part of what I teach is that if you play your role, he'll play his, and vice versa. Have faith and trust in him, but play your role. Don't expect that things are going to happen. If you're not acting in a way that is friendly to the male psychology, you're not going to get the attention you're looking for. You're not going to get the response you're looking for. And this even applies in marriages. You know, if I'm not acting in a way that's friendly to his male psychology, I'm not going to get the same response from him that I could have if I understood him better.
Yeah, and that is so much of it. The male psyche is different from the female psyche, and you have to understand that sometimes.
It is, and what motivates a man and what keeps him invested in pursuing me is different than what I think it is as a woman. And part of the role is I need to have faith and trust in him in playing the ball, or playing the game, that he is going to keep the ball in motion. But faith and trust is a man's #1 need. And when I act with faith and trust in him, I'm going to get a different response.
You say also to keep the ball moving, not only pass the ball, but keep the ball moving at the same time.
Play in a way that keeps him participating and you participating. A lot of people expect that someone else is going to keep this relationship going, and they quit trying, or they act in a way that's kind of toxic to the process, and that's not going to work. You know, if you act critical, nagging, whining, and complaining, no surprise he might drop the ball or she might drop the ball. So you got to keep playing.
Well, you mentioned drop the ball. Anybody can drop the ball. How does that play?
That's just one of the rules of the game. If you base all of your efforts on whether or not you get what you want, how you want it, and when you want it, you're going to burn out on the game, and you're not going to want to get back into it. It's about focusing on you and your technique and self-improvement and being smart in the process and staying involved, but don't expect that just because I'm playing my role that no one, you know, that other people aren't going to decide that this isn't what they're looking for. There needs to be compatibility as well. But you will have the opportunity to marry the kind of person you say you want to marry. If you have faith in that, that will work. But you can't expect that someone isn't going to possibly reject you, and you need to keep that in perspective.
I'm intrigued by your next point, focus on the end zone, because I think sometimes that can be a negative thing too, though, because you're not enjoying the process of the game.
The end zone is improving my skills.
Okay.
And so when I'm sitting there looking at, you know, between now and last month, I've used this and this and this technique, and I've improved my flirting in these ways, and I'm now getting a better response from other men in my life because I understand this and this and this, then I'm going to stay in the game and I'm going to enjoy the game much more. So focus on your skills. Don't focus on the other person and what they're doing or not doing. Someone else will come along and play the game with you in a way that will eventually result in marriage. Just keep that in perspective.
And the end zone sort of plays into the touchdown, because you really, the whole goal is to make the touchdown here, right?
Exactly, to get married. And I like the football analogy. I use a lot of different game analogies with it just to keep people flexible in it. But, you know, in the first 3 to 6 weeks, you got to understand it's a bit of a tackle sport. You know, there can be tackles, not because we should be tackling, but because they might tackle you. But we need to keep that in perspective, that eventually you will get married, and keep your eye on that and have faith in that. Fear, you have two options when you're single, fear or faith. And fear will never lead you to a higher road, but faith will.
Okay, great tips, great analogies, and we're going to be back tomorrow with part 2 of our 3-part series, Dateless, Dazzling. Lisa's going to help us understand that male psychology, right?
Yes,
okay, that we were talking about. One of the biggest mistakes women can make, she says, is refusing to flirt, and that was a problem for each of our participants. So we're going to find out how they're doing, check in with them, and see what they've learned.
Of course, Lisa's also had a great all-day workshop coming up on October 18th. It's at the downtown Salt Lake City Library. We're going to have the details on our website, studio5.ksl.com. basics, things like really like how to flirt, things you sometimes forget you get out of the habit of doing, you know?
Absolutely. Like I said, it applies to any relationship, marriage or single.
Yeah, I mean, if you understand the opposite sex, you're going to have a lot more success with them. So.
Okay, Lisa, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more in Studio 5 after this.
I got a date. I can take another shower and get all dressed up again.